Welcome to Waynesboro Garage. Happy Saturday. What are we doing today? Let me show you. Some of you may noticed these are the kickouts that are on the knees. We've got two of them on our carriage, okay? And if you've got a butt size of the log, which is bigger than the other top end of the log, you want to push this out a little bit so the log goes down the middle straight. Pretty cool. So sadly, as some of you may have figured out, we had a little crash last week where one of these was out and our blade hit it. Not a big deal, we can figure it out. It didn't really hurt anything other than our blade, which Doug fixed right away. But this has got to be fixed, and I'll fix that. I'm gonna put some steel in its place, and we'll make it look like new. But the interesting thing is take a look at this. Hopefully you can see that. Why is this thing bent like this? So these things are cocked down like the 10 o'clock position where it should be straight up and down when these knees are back. So it's not really clear to people when they're where they're supposed to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in my hydraulic press, and I'm gonna crank on it and straighten it back out. At least that's what the plan is. So let me see how that goes. So here's the hydraulic press, by the way. It's old, it's older than me, I think. It's a Lemco, it's a 40-ton press, probably made in the 40s, when men were men. And it's manually operated, but it's got this little gauge up here so I can kind of figure out how much pump and pressure I'm putting on it. I don't know how these got bent in the first place. We're still scratching our head what the heck happened here, but they did. But this seems to straighten them out pretty nicely. I mean, look at how, and there's no pressure in here. This is a 1/2 inch steel, so I don't quite get this thing here. What's going on? All right, so that's pretty good now. Very nice, actually. But when I lift it back up, what's it do? Is it gonna bow up on me? Actually, not bad. So what I think I'll do this time is put this here to jack it up just a little bit. There we go. How's that look? Looks pretty damn good, actually. Man, that's about as good as it gets. Now, if you look at it here, it's not perfectly straight anymore, but I've got to fix for that too. So all I gotta do to fix that is, this time we'll put some pressure on this thing. Put this here, watch your toes, because this stuff's heavy. All right, so we're reading 0 pounds now, and with enough pressure, this thing will straighten anything out, including build. No, just kidding. So there is, how many tons have we got? 40 ton? 40 ton. There's 15 tons of pressure. There we go. We'll put 30 tons in it. 60,000 pounds. And now let's see what she looks like. Straight as an arrow. I'm pretty impressed, actually. Now the question is, is the pin going to fit through here? So let's go find out. So here's what I got here. I got a couple options here. I can try and weld some metal back here, but it might be easiest. I can leave it alone, but it might be easiest to just cut this off if I can drill out this hole easily enough on a piece of steel. So I'd call that hole 7/8 of an inch. That one's 7. Well, it looks to me like in about 5 seconds, I found a nice piece of steel. 1/2 inch thick, a little bit too wide, but I can fix that. And kind of what I'm thinking is, cut this off, weld a new one on. There you go. Easy as pie. Too bad I can't make pie. I don't use this thing all the time, but it's convenient sometimes. This little bandsaw thingy-dingy here. So I got it set up here, and let her rip, tater chip. There we go. And some of you told me you don't like the music, so cuts like butter. Not quite like the carbide saw, but I'll tell you what, it's still a nice cut, and it does a good job. Okay, all clear. Hammer's out. Alrighty, now let's see. I'm going to turn the RPM down and let this thing rip as we cut a little hole in here. Now I'm going to round off these edges here. Alrighty, well here we are. I got my two things here. Now we're ready to weld her up. That's about enough damage for one day. I think it'll work out just swell. They're both straightened out. Look pretty good, actually. Okay, it's tomorrow. It's Sunday. Doug and I went back to the park, and today we're putting these kickouts, or I don't know what the heck they call them, back in. And frankly, it went swimmingly well. How often does that happen? Not too often. What you don't see is I put a little bit of red Loctite on these bolts so they don't come apart. Additionally, we're kind of scratching our heads, how do these get bent? I realized now, after looking at this carefully, if these kickouts are sticking out 2 or 3 or 4 inches, and you roll a big heavy log on there, it's going to bend the arms. That's exactly what happened. So hopefully in the future, that won't be done.
I know you want to spray the handle, so I'm not going to touch that.
Well, I didn't want to do it at home because we were going to be doinking with it, either, you know, so I said, well, and I may have to use a punch when I get home, not get a punch. I don't know whether it's going to work or not.
So, I know Apple does promote education, but I don't know if they have a really good tuition assistance program.
Yeah.
I think you're expected to have that education.